And we're live. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, 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 one and all, to what is a very, as you can see in the background, a somewhat unfortunate, typical Saturday. Good morning from Belgium, welcome. I have no idea how you pronounce your username there. Nailgul1, I think. Anyway, good morning to you. Good morning, Marinus Voss. Good morning to you. Like I say, it's a bit of a, well, it's a bit of a dodgy morning. I don't think it's going to be able to make its mind up whether it wants to rain or not. As you can see in the background, it's definitely going to rain today. So we've got the old umbrella. Oh, Cathlonic, good morning to you. You've joined us just in time. Normally you join us right at the end. Oh, good morning from sunny Romania. Well, I'm slightly jealous because, as you can see in the background, I don't think it can make its mind up what it wants to do. It seems to be the typical good morning weather. So, nevertheless, like I say, good morning to you. Welcome, one and all, to the, as normal, the Good Morning Walk. And I don't know where to start off with this one, because this is for like the week ahead. Because if you saw my video that came out yesterday, good morning there, Joe. Good morning. If you saw my video yesterday, then you know that this coming Wednesday, is going to be an absolute humdinger of a day. What's happening, for those of you who don't know or didn't watch the video? Well, morning from cold Dusseldorf. Well, at least we know it's sunny in Romania. Good morning there, John. Good morning to you. So, like I say, Wednesday is going to be an absolute... Who knows what could happen on Wednesday? It could all go to town on Wednesday. Sunny if cold in Dublin. Well, at least we'll know we'll be getting some good-ish, maybe better weather soon. Like I say, I have got the umbrella this time ready just in case. So Wednesday's going to be insane. I do not try to make that in any way, hyperbolic, because it is. It's going to be absolutely insane, because Dominic Cummings is giving evidence to the the Science and something Response Committee. I can't remember its full name, but essentially this is going to be the first part of the coronavirus response. And one of the big things that we saw from the local election was that undoubtedly, that there was such thing as the vaccine bounce. Boris took credit for essentially the NHS doing its job, and of course the rollout. And of course, for those of you who might not be aware, it turns out there is a thing developing now known as the Yorkshire variant. So you're welcome, unfortunately. So the potential road out of lockdown may not be as smooth as Boris Johnson wishes it was. But the important thing about Dominic Cummings' testimony that he's going to bring is that he is going to attack. He's already pretty much said this. He is going to attack the exact strategy of that Boris Johnson won so much success on. Of that, is he going to sacrifice the liberties or the economy? And by the looks of it, he's threatening to bring conversations, emails, you name it. Apparently, Dominic Cummings has it. It's a complete, I was going to say it's a complete going out of business sale, but needless to say, it is going to be very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Because immediately after, literally almost exactly, I think it's 30 minutes after Dominic Cummings has finished giving evidence, 30 minutes later will be Prime Minister's question time. So if Dominic Cummings drops, as a lot of us are thinking, that if Dominic Cummings starts to drop some bombshells, then they are going to explode. And I mean completely explode all over Prime Minister's question times. And why am I calling it Prime Minister's question times? I don't know, but PMQs. PMQs are going to be very explosive if that happens. And who knows what then the response is going to be from that. So, yeah, Wednesday could be very, very, very interesting. Well, like I say, we're going to have to see what happens. But put it this way, so far from what we've seen of from Cummings, he's shown absolute willingness to go after Boris. So I have no reason not to suspect that it could be huge. I do think this could be like quite a serious accusation. And one of the things potential, I think, that could even be more damaging is, as someone said, are the recordings. There very well could be recordings. We don't know what he's bringing, but apparently Dominic Cummings is bringing the receipts. So this could be very, very interesting Wednesday, and I think that you're going to get potential Monday, Tuesday. I think you're going to get a lot of build up to this. Oh, good morning to more of the people joining us. Good morning to you. Like I say, I think Monday and Tuesday are going to be the build up to this. And then Wednesday is going to be the, well, it's all going to kick off on Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday could be the fallout of what happened. And like I say, who knows? Who knows? Yeah, like I say, we don't fully know, of course, what's going to happen. Of course, like I say, we're sort of sitting and waiting. But like I say, Cummings has already said and already hinted at the fact that he's got the receipts to, shall we say, charge, shall we say, Mr. Johnson for his for some of his missed payments, shall we say. And how will this affect the public image of this? Well, I don't know. Like I say, I don't know. We'll have to see. We're very, very much going to have to see, obviously, what comes out on Wednesday. And like I say, as Son of Vikings just said, it's like being excited for an Action Man at Christmas and then getting a Chinese knockoff. That could be the case. But like I say, you don't know. Bear in mind that if Johnson had not been so buoyed up by his election success at the local elections, then undoubtedly he would have never ever have given assent to, obviously recently, the coronavirus investigation, especially it being a public inquiry. So that is now a thing, much to, again, people like me who've been saying that we need one. And of course, a lot of the Tories have continuously said, when there is this inquiry, we are going to get an absolute drubbing. So that too could be potentially damaging because, like I say, Boris was hoping that he could just put this off, but he had a massive win, or he had to, shall we say, he had a massive win, which massively inflated his ego, and then strategy for coming out of lockdown appeared to be working. But of course, we've now had the Indian variant is now starting to fly around, to which, if we know what has happened, essentially Boris Johnson decided to keep the air lanes open to India, essentially so that he could go to India and have a nice press conference with Modi and, well, essentially have a nice PR day for Brexit. So if the Indian variant is here, then in a way, you can actually blame it on Brexit. Not only that, we are another potential mutation of the coronavirus called the Yorkshire variant. Fascinating. It's a good thing to know that, you know, my region will be unfortunately known for that, possibly for all time, if this does go on to cause some, you know, some serious damage and does actually lead to the damaging of the roadmap out of lockdown, shall we say. But as in all things, and especially in this case, we are just going to have to wait and see. Yeah, go Yorkshire. Oh. The other thing that obviously happened this week was Priti Patel has a new uniform. If you hadn't seen, Priti Patel essentially got a black jacket with Home Secretary stitched onto it. Yeah, could be worse. At least it's not Hartlepool syndrome. Well, oh yeah, but yeah, Priti Patel was. I genuinely don't know what that entire photo opportunity was about. I think it was just to show that, you know, Patel's out large and in charge, shall we say. And the fact of the Home Secretary coming along to supervise an operation is quite frankly ridiculous. the next thing you'll know, she'll be there with a giant net to try and actually catch them. And we'll get some sort of, you know, busy bee running around about them. Oh, thank you very much, Mitch. Thank you very much for your support. Love your channel. Keep up the great work. It's great to be part of the community. Well, thank you very much, Mitch. And like I say, everyone is always welcome in this community. We are always accepting. But yeah, like I say, someone needs to Photoshop that image and just put like a giant net in hand, because quite frankly, it'll make her look absolutely ridiculous. And I think it will, shall we say, rain on her parade, shall we say. And quite frankly, it's a parade that really needs raining on. But yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous. What an absolute ridiculous opportunity. What an absolute ridiculous photo opportunity. And here's the thing, at least Starmer a couple of weeks ago went out and did his the photo op of buying wallpaper. At least that had some sort of political point to it. Priti Patel did nothing. Why on earth should a Home Secretary be involved in an actual operation and then be there to essentially get points as if she is actually arresting the people involved in the operation? You know, that's not the job of the Home Secretary. You know, I'd want the Home Secretary to at least be thinking bigger picture rather than focusing on one tiny operation where she can get a really good photo opportunity and make her look tough. I worry, you know, I really do worry if that is part of a bid for leadership. I think that might actually play into that. I really, really do. Because as a lot of people have said, depending on how Wednesday turns out, there could be start to see, shall we say, challengers emerge. Shall we say challengers emerge to the throne? Obviously, I think Rishi Sunak is going to be one of them. I've said that before. Michael Gove is going to be another one. But if this photo opportunity is part of a larger plan for essentially, shall we say, Patel to take the throne, then yeah, potentially that could be the case. I think that could be the entire point of that photo op. I think that's what the entire point of it was. You know, I don't think that there would be a point to challenge. There wouldn't be a point of doing that unless you had, like I say, a reason to do it. And I think it generally would be. It would play into Patel could position herself as being a, you know, being tough on crime. And, you know, she'd be the tough on crime prime minister. And essentially that would play very well, would play very, very well to the... Oh, we might be having problems. We might be having problems connecting, but we'll see how we go. Hopefully normal service has been resumed. But yeah, that was Priti Patel's week. Potentially, I think, making a, shall we say, building the groundwork for her rise to the big chair. I think that's what that whole thing plays out to be. I think that's the only reason for it. is for her to get some good press, some good PR, and some good pictures for, when she goes to make her play to be the Prime Minister. And if Priti Patel becomes Prime Minister, oof, you think a Michael Gove prime ministership would be bad. Wait until you've seen Priti Patel. Oh my. oh my. Oh. But anyway, on to our main topic of conversation today. Because obviously the stream is called The Good Morning Walk and Oh My BBC. And for those of you who may or may not be aware of what's happened, there was basically a rather big investigation into essentially what would be, the investigation into how the BBC obtained the interview for Diana by Martin Bashir. And ultimately it came out that, surprise, surprise, something that we knew all along, it was obtained under very, very dubious circumstances. Oh. There you go, show you the river while we're here. It was obtained under very, very dubious circumstances. And surprise, surprise, what a shock. Turns out it was. Now, why is this? Why are we talking about this? Well, predominantly because, as I think we've mentioned this before, there is a campaign to actually try and end the BBC. And to be honest, this is not a campaign in good faith. The people who are campaigning to end the BBC are being backed by the likes of Murdoch, the Barclay brothers, you name it. Because why? Well, if the BBC, shall we say, goes public, meaning it becomes a public owned company. Currently, it is a nationalized news service. And not only that, it controls local radio, regional radio, television, world service, whatever, you name it. The BBC is incredibly, incredibly influential. And the fact that it is very obvious, very, very obvious, that very key big right-wingers, oh, thank you very much, Gaffo Me, thank you very much for your support there. It is very, very obvious that the right-wing news press, and shall we say their owners, are after the BBC. They want to take over the BBC, and we cannot let that happen. And here's the thing. I'm a lefty who has complained against the BBC from time to time. Because, for example, why was Nigel Farage allowed so often on Question Time? Oh. There we go. There we go. So why was Nigel Farage allowed so often on Question Time? That really is the big question. On Question Time, it really should have been. But in all honesty, the truth was that the program Question Time had been essentially sold long time ago off to a different company. It was no longer Question Time is no longer a BBC production. It is produced by now a third party company, and it is the third party company that has been, shall we say, responsible for putting Nigel Farage on the show so often, partly because, of course, of ratings. And that is obviously the dreaded scourge of nearly fell then. That is the dreaded scourge that we could face. We could very well see a BBC that, shall we say, doesn't play to, the 3 E's of educate, educate, entertain, and it's inform, educate, and entertain. I think it is something like that. But this is the big thing. The BBC is often damned if it does and damned if it doesn't, because obviously, like, that is a big, like, lefty comment that, there we go. Morning. That is obviously the big lefty complaint of that. I mean, if you want to see what these people want to turn the BBC into, you're going to look no more further than GB News. And of course, the right will complain incessantly about BBC left-wing bias, and the left complain continuously about BBC right-wing bias. Like I say, the BBC are damned if they do, damned if they don't. So you've also seen the absolute height, I mean the absolute height of hypocrisy, when all these newspapers that hounded Princess Diana for years, then having the gall to try and say that they are somehow morally better than the BBC. It's very simple. It just absolutely just doesn't make sense why on earth they would do that, because they cannot play that card. It is absolute height of hypocrisy. It really does not make sense. But nevertheless, we actually do need the BBC. I think it's a very, very good institution for the UK. I think it does very often attempt to provide a balanced take on the news. It has very, very good reporting. Oh, yeah, I did hear that. Oh, hang on. There you go. So I do think the BBC is very, very much, generally is very, very much a needed institution. I would not want to see the BBC falling into right-wing hands, because ultimately that is what would happen. Anyone who is, genuinely, seriously thinking about saying that the BBC being turned into an actual corporation. Oh, and there's the little foal there as well. Anyone who seriously is making the play that the BBC should become like an actual corporation is missing out hugely on the point. Hugely on the point. Oh yeah. These are the only two on this side, because I don't know if you can see them in the background, way over there. They're across the river there. Don't know if you can see the rest over there, but yeah, these are the only two that are on this side of the river. There you go. But yes, yeah. Anyone seriously making that case, I'm sorry, you would be costing, first of all, hundreds of thousands of jobs. You know, the BBC is a big employer. You know, not only just in London now, but in Manchester. I believe there's a big BBC presence in Liverpool as well. You know, if you'd said that, it would go under so fast. It would go under so fast, and then it would end up in the hands of someone like Rupert Murdoch or the Barclay brothers. And are you seriously willing to say that is what you would want to happen to the BBC? Because that is what would happen. Because we're already getting like the UK's version of Fox News with GB News, which is I think meant to be starting soon. And you won't be too surprised to hear that GB News will probably run program after program, or segment after segment, as it is in the news biz, to say that it's time to end the license fee, it's time to end all this stuff. No, the BBC is an absolutely fantastic institution. Are there problems in the BBC? Yes, of course there are. There are going to be problems regardless of wherever you go, you know, for news coverage. But the BBC has an absolutely fantastic reputation when it does come to giving news. And that's part of the reason why so many people like Rupert Murdoch, the Barclay brothers, you name it, want to get their grubby hands on the BBC. You know, that is the case. And ultimately then, if the BBC ended up in the hands of someone like Rupert Murdoch, you think you're complaining about the BBC now. And I've seen a couple of people complain about the BBC in the comments. But if you think the BBC has a right-wing bias now, wait until it gets bought by someone like Rupert Murdoch. And of course, the Tories would openly encourage that. They would openly encourage that. Because they just want another piece of propaganda set for them. I mean, most of the newspapers in the UK are already have a right-leaning space to them. So why on earth... Nope. Why on earth would you then want the BBC to follow suit? Again, it doesn't make sense. Like I say, most of these, shall we say, most likely the big one, of course, is, I think was it Stop the BBC or Defund the BBC or something like that. Yeah, they are absolutely run by right-wing, shall we say, vultures, who are waiting for the day where they can just sweep down on the BBC and just buy it up. And like I say, we cannot let that happen, because the BBC is so important. Because things like national and regional news, Like we've got national, we've got regional regional news stations. So in the here we have, what is it, BBC Look North, which covers regional news in the area. We've also got the local radio stations as well. These would be very, very, very hard hit. Very hard hit. In fact, you'd probably end up losing some of them. And that's the genuine truth. You would honestly end up losing like your local or even regional news segment, which would in turn, I think, damage, people's news ability to be able to get news about what's going on in their local area. That's why I'm such a supporter of the Bylines network. I think the fact that we have like the Yorkshire Bylines, there's the Northeast there's the Northeast Bylines, there's the Central Bylines, there's London Bylines. All these are fantastic ways to get a local news organisation. And, we need good news outlets. And what's even funnier is when you see a lot of these, right-wing hacks out there online complain about either the BBC or some form of other media bias, especially in the UK. They'll be disingenuous about it if they say nothing essentially about Leveson 2. Leveson 2 is a massive piece of essentially goods. I forgot what we call it now. It's a good bill. It's a very, very good. I'm having an absolute brain catastrophe on this side here. Policy, that's it. Yeah, it's an absolute bit of corking piece of policy. Because after the first Leveson inquiry, there were talks about how can we make sure that all this stuff essentially doesn't happen again, that the phone tapping scandal doesn't happen again, that other things that the Leveson inquiry brought to light essentially don't happen again. Leveson 2. Oh, thank you, Vojon. Thank you for Brinton for making Irish politicians look great. Thank you very much for your support there. And if you would like to support the channel in a different way, like I say, please do remember to hit that like button and the share button as well. That does help out the channel. And of course, down below there is a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can buy me a coffee. And thank you to everyone who does support the channel, and thank you to all the people who have supported this stream so far. Like I say, it's very, very much appreciated. So, Leveson 2 would bring in something called a royal charter. And essentially, a royal charter would essentially mean that these news organisations like the Daily Mail, the Express, now have someone to watch them and to make sure that they don't do anything naughty. It would also give more power to the Independent Press Complaints Commission, because they would be folded in as part of that charter. And of course, the right-wing newspapers at the time, if you may remember that far back, were all saying that this is going to lead up to censorship, that this was going to be bad. But no. All they wanted to know in this royal charter was to sign up to a series of journalistic intentions to which many journalists join or sign up to when they join the Journalist Society. It was essentially based on the 10 principles of essentially being a good journalist. Naming your sources, making sure that they're good, not printing falsehoods or lies, So if you ever hear someone complaining about the state of the media in the UK, and they seriously do not bring up as a solution to this problem of instituting Leveson 2, then they're not serious about actually implementing the reforms and changes that we would need to make sure that things like the phone hacking scandal and other things don't happen. We've also had as well this week another part of Priti Patel. I forgot to mention about this. Patel has blocked a investigation into the murder of I think he was a PI or he was a reporter, and he was a whistleblower who was about to blow the lid on apparent corruption between the press and the media. Because apparently a lot of sources, and even back to tie this into what we were talking about in the Leveson inquiry, there was a lot to suggest that the police were, for money, leaking info to press sources. That should not happen. That should never happen. And apparently this guy was about to blow the whistle on all that. And Priti Patel has blocked the inquiry that's going to look into his death. Not a surprise. Not a surprise. Daniel Morgan, that's his name. So, yeah, the fact that they've blocked this, highly suspect. Highly suspect. But, like I say, once again, we're going to have to wait and see how that develops. We're going to have to wait and see how that develops. Of course, the other thing that's happened big this week was of course, the news of an Australian trade deal. And, of course, essentially how it will sound the death knell for British farming. Because, as I'm sure you all know, let me tell you a tale. Let me tell you a tale. Because once long ago, Boris Johnson promised the DUP that there would never, ever be a border down the Irish Sea. And lie did he. To which should have warned the fishermen, as they said, "Protect our catch, Lord Boris, or else we'll surely be dead." And Lord Boris, lie did he. And now we've had the National Union of Farmers and their lead secretary come out and say that Boris has promised her that protect farming would he. The chances of him protecting the farms is not very likely. I tried to rhyme all that, not too successfully, but hey, there you go. I think I at least get an A for efforts. But yeah, the idea of the National Union for Farmers coming out and saying that Boris has promised them that there are going to be protections What protections? So, first of all, there is no policy. And as always, if there's no policy, then we can pretty much assure or be very assured that it's a lie. And that means that our British farmers are going to get absolutely shafted in so many ways. Oh, so many ways are they going to get shafted. Because here's the thing. If you take out all of these tariffs, then essentially what is going to happen is the Australian meat industry is absolutely insane when it comes to like mass industrialized farming methods. They can turn out meat like no one's business. And they've already said that they are going to flood the market. And what protections is Boris Johnson going to give to our farmers? Nothing. One of the best ways you help protect your industry is by tariffs. But Boris Johnson has said over the course of the next 15 years that those tariffs are going to get lowered to 0 tariffs, which also should spread the warning that essentially this is also what is going to get offered to New Zealand as well. And then we're going to have New Zealand lamb and beef flood our market as well. Not only that, but the US is also going to say, hey, we want the same thing as well. And there we go. The British farmers are well, the chances are they won't be British for too much longer, because we have incredibly high animal welfare and feeding standards here in the UK that essentially make sure that our farmers don't cut corners, don't use these massive industrialized farming methods like hormone grown beef, and so on and so on. And they are going to suffer. Remember the old statistic that we used to quote quite often, that without EU subsidies, about 80% of all small farmers face bankruptcy. And of course, some of you may have very well seen that this is going to happen over a 15-year-long period. So, of course, they don't have to worry about, shall we say, the fallout too much now when farmers up and down the country are going out of business, because we can worry about that in about 10 to 15 years' time. And like I say, this is not going to end up good, because the Conservatives and the Brexiteers have yet again gone and betrayed another British industry. First they threw the DUP under the bus, then the fishermen followed swiftly soon after. Then, now the farmers are, shall we say, being brought to the edge of the station, and the train is quickly speeding down the tracks. But it's not just farming that we need to worry about as well. It's also a lot of the other stuff that could very well be in that Australian trade deal, because it's very likely there could be a lot of other stuff in that deal that, well, does over a lot more industries. And like I say, we're going to have to wait until the rest of that bill comes out. But as you've seen there, and as I always say, there are two big ideas at war at the moment in the Conservative Party. The idea of levelling up and that of global Britain. And essentially in this case, global Britain has won, and the idea of levelling up has immediately gone to the curb. Has it stopped raining now? Yeah, sort of. Oop. Difficulty of closing an umbrella with one hand. There we go. So, like I say, this Australian trade deal is nothing more than a massive symbolic gesture to the Brexiteers. As we've seen with other, quote, trade deals and rollover deals we've signed, they've been absolutely awful to the UK side. The Japan deal overwhelmingly favours Japan, and only by about, 17% favours us, you know, including areas that we don't even trade in. And like I say, as for the Australian deal, we're going to have to wait and see what the rest of it is. But already, the fact that the government has admitted that this is only going to add between 0.01% to 0.02% to our GDP confirms exactly what lots of other experts have been saying for so long, that you cannot in any way, shape or form try to regain what we lose from losing the single market and being in the customs union to try and, you know, go around the world and do quote unquote fantastic trade deals. Yeah, this deal is not going to be good. For us, it only massively overfavours, the Australians. And like I said before, a number of times again, once you sign a trade deal, it is very, very hard to get out of it. And what incentive, let's say, should the British government go back to the Australians and say, we want to renegotiate that trade deal, what incentive do the Australians have to actually renegotiate that deal if it overwhelmingly favours them? Absolutely none. And why are we here? We are here because back in the late 18th century, the idea of essential free trade came into being, with the idea that everyone should have no tariffs, and that if we lowered our tariffs, everything would be fine. But of course, that's not going to do it. And of course, they forget at the time that we had an empire, we had colonies, and that those colonies were pretty much forbidden to buy anything that wasn't British. We would take their resources, turn them into actual manufactured goods, and then we would sell those manufactured goods back to the colonies. Like I say, this was the system that we actually had. It's also the thing of all these free market fundamentalists, when they talk about free trade, that's the era they're referring to. Back when Britain had an empire, back when it could just sail its ships into port and essentially say, hey, nice port you have there, shame if anything should happen to it, how about signing this overwhelmingly good trade deal that overwhelmingly favours us? That's essentially what happens. You know, that Britain can never ever survive again. The idea that we can go back to that era is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we've already seen when we had the Norway debacle a couple of weeks ago that the UK said it wasn't interested in reopening talks with the EU until 2022. We've seen America basically say, and pass into law, by the way, which is another thing that happened this week, was that there would be no trade deal with the UK until we honoured the Northern Ireland Protocol. This is the reality of the world that we live in, and Brexiteers are once again living in a fantasy where they seem to have drank their own Kool-Aid, where we had Lord Frost this week come out and say that the protocol had been forced upon them by Parliament. Wait a minute. The Brexiteers' argument for years has been that the British Parliament should be sovereign. So why on earth is this suddenly a problem? You know? And the fact that he has said multiple times this week that the deal he negotiated is somehow wrong and can't work. Well, you negotiated it. It's your problem. And yet again, we have clear examples of yet Brexiteers causing problems and then running away when those problems actually start to, well, cause problems. And of course, we still see no solutions from the Brexiteers of actually how to solve this. Of course, there is one very clear solution that we have talked about multiple times on this channel. And that is, of course, if we want to sort this problem out instantly, overnight, all we have to do is rejoin the customs union and the single market. That is the only solution out there at the moment which solves this problem. The only solution that solves this problem. Like I said many, many times before, back last year when we were saying it, Brexit fails immediately on its first day. Fails immediately on its first day. And before anyone says, oh, but the Leave campaign said we would leave the EU. No, the Leave campaign said over and over that remaining in the customs union and the single market was a desirable thing to do. And dude, you say that the EU won't let us. The EU were more than fine to let us actually stay in the single market and customs union. So I fully expect that they will let us rejoin that. Because a lot of people saying, oh, the EU won't let you do that. No one in the EU has said that. So anyone who says that, please do find me a source of an EU official saying that the UK would not be allowed back in to the customs market and to the single market and customs union. No EU official. Ursula von der Leyen has never said that. And once again, the whole idea of Brexit was based on fantasies and lies and, quite frankly, checks that cannot be cashed. And we are already seeing the damage that he's doing to our economy. Luckily, though, the coronavirus happened, which has managed to cover much of it up. But anyway, as always, we are at the end of our Good Morning Walk. So, as always, absolutely thank you everyone to joining us. Please do hit that like button on your way out. Also, don't forget to press the share button as well. Also, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And thank you to all the people who do support the channel through either Patreon or Buy Me Coffee. And thank you so much to the people that have supported the channel this morning with your super chats as well. And as always, have a safe weekend. If you can't be safe, be sensible, at least. And we'll see you next Sunday, next Saturday, again, for another Good Morning Walk.